Card presents Back Issue Bloodbath with your hosts, Andrew Young and Petula Neal.
Look at you. You brought a sword and some arrows to a fight with Supergirl. Supergirl doesn't give a fuck about a sword and some arrows. Welcome to Back Issue Bloodbath. I'm Andrew Young, and this week it's a very special episode because I'm joined by the Spoiled Rotten Podcast's Daniel Grant.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on, man. Of course, we had you on probably about a year ago for our episode on Static Shock. And of course, since then, we've appeared on mutual podcasts and shows since then. And I thought it was high time to have you back on, sir. So how you been doing?
I've been doing well. I'm looking forward to this as well. So thank you very much for having me back.
Well, thank you for coming on. So this week we are looking at Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, some comic fans might not have heard of this newer book. It's relatively new. It only came out last year. Some fans might have read it diligently, and some fans might only know about it because James Gunn has announced it as one of the DCU Chapter 1 films, which Gunn said that he read Tom King's run on Supergirl, and he said, I want to turn this into a big science fiction epic feature film. And so that might be, you're in on this, but Daniel, you're the one who picked the book for this. What was it that stood out for this book that made you want to check it out?
Oh, it was 100% what you said about James Gunn saying.
Oh, yeah?
I think I've never given Superman and like that world a fair chance. And so I was slowly like reading Superman comics and trying to get more into Supergirl as well. But when James Gunn had that 5-minute thing where he was like, here's what we're doing in chapter 1, I was like, this seems like the perfect jumping off point to like do this in earnest and read a Supergirl comic. And I really do like Tom King's writing. I find that even if I don't really like the character, if he's involved, there is a hook to me that I enjoy to keep reading his work with any character. It doesn't have to be a character I already like.
Yeah, no, that's the thing with Tom King. We've actually covered a number of Tom King's books on the show, but not like his Batman run or anything like that. The third tier characters he's covered, and for better or for worse, Supergirl falls into kind of a third tier level when it comes to fandom, how big the character is in the comics. Of course, he did the Mr. Miracle book, which was amazing, and then Strange Adventures, which was one of my favorite books while it was out. And then most recently, another amazing book, which we actually did an episode on not too long ago, on The Human Target, which was just fantastic. And what I like is he has a different take for each one.
Yeah.
You know, like the Strange Adventure kind of felt like paranoia type 1960s films, like almost Hitchcockian, but in like a space adventure. And then of course, Mr. Miracle was kind of an exploration of life and death and one's will to live.
I was really into Mr. Miracle. That was like my favorite Tom King thing, and then I kind of just spun out from there and kept reading stuff.
Yeah, and The Human Target was kind of like a 60s noir that just happened to involve Justice League International, which was hilarious. But this one, it's kind of a bit harder to define because it's an epic fantasy adventure. It's sci-fi, but it's got a bit of Western to it.
Yeah, I kept reading it on and off before I even said that we should do it. And I remember like, I don't even know if I can pronounce the, like basically the narrator's name. Like, is it Ruthye or like, it's like
I think it's Ruthye. Yeah, okay, something
Ruthye.
like Ruthye. Yeah.
Because at some points she's speaking like I would expect like a science fiction like person to say, but then she does kind of throw in an ain't here and a double negative there, and I'm like, this is the Western part of it. I feel like she's the girl that was raised on the ranch, and she's going off on an adventure.
Yeah, totally. And it also, much like Westerns, they kind of follow the same kind of structure as the quest of a knight and a squire. And this also has a knight and a squire type feel to it as well. You know, you've got your warrior who comes into town and helps someone who is on a quest for revenge, but is still technically an innocent. So you have those kind of levels to it. There's so much going on here, the layers to it. It is kind of a harkening back to classic storytelling, right down to the narration, which we'll get into my thoughts on the narration later, but it's very, even though it is, like an epic fantasy, it's very Dickensian in nature, the way it's spaced out. So a lot of like influences and factors going into this one, which was really surprising. And it kind of also has an underlining theme of the fact that Supergirl, as I mentioned before, kind of in the third tier realm, is an overlooked character. Why? Yeah. Because her cousin is the biggest superhero of all time.
I don't know if it was meta or not, but like just the idea that they're really championing Supergirl throughout because it's from the point of view of Ruthye, that like a lot of stuff that's I think people typically talk about when they're talking about Superman is applied to Supergirl in this story, and I think in an interesting way. Like it made me think a bit more about the super family, like the House of L or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And in this case, because as you said, Ruthye, we're seeing Supergirl through the eyes of another. And that, again, also kind of harkens back to both Western tales and medieval tales, fantasy tales, always like somebody who's telling the story of someone else. And the story begins with Ruthye's father being slaughtered on his farm by Krem of the Yellow Hills, which that right there kind of felt like a Conan type villain. I think Krem of the Yellow Hills. Yeah. So she wants revenge. And she set out to find someone who will help her with the revenge. And Krem also, not only did Krem kill her father, but kind of in almost like a slap to the face, insult to injury, left his sword lodged in her father's chest. So now all she has is her anger and this sword. And her idea is, I'm going to go to town, I'm going to find a champion, and I'm going to say, you're going to take me to find Krem of the Yellow Hills, we're going to kill him, and then your payment will be this sword. And she tries it, but of course a guy tries to swindle her out of it, and that's when Supergirl steps in. Now, what did you think of Supergirl's reason for being on this planet?
Was this like her dog? Like, was this the crypto thing?
No. Crypto was with her, but her reason for being on the planet was it was her 21st birthday.
Okay.
And so she wanted to go out as far out into the cosmos to a universe and a planet that did not have a yellow sun.
Right.
So that she could actually,
she can, and so this, that was a while since I read that book, but what I liked about it, to answer your question, I liked it a lot, was that like, you get this different version of, like, for me, most of my knowledge of Supergirl unfortunately comes from the TV show. So it was like nice to have this different iteration of her where she's kind of like surly, but also like thinking about making a movie out of it. Like the idea that like she's drunk and kind of forgot that there's no yellow sun. So when she tries to fight, she starts bleeding, and just adding that extra layer of like, she still wants to do the right thing, but she's in a place where she can't fully use her powers like that, and can't just sacrifice her body like that, and it forces her to readjust. And I just thought, what an interesting way to tell this story, that like we're going to be places where she isn't going to be the strongest person there.
Yeah, and I also thought it was kind of fun, the idea of that it's like she's 21. She wants to experience what many 21-year-olds that she would have encountered in the US of A want to do. They want to legally get drunk on their birthday in a bar, and she unfortunately has to go to the other side of the galaxy in order to do it. This kind of sets up an interesting through line with her, that even though she's this great grandiose person and she's got a well-known persona and everything like that, she just wants to experience some regular shit. And it's something she's never gotten to do, not only because of her powers on Earth, but also because she saw her entire world die.
She didn't have a childhood in that sense. Like, Clark was sent off and grew up and had a childhood. I mean, obviously there's issues, but as the book makes a point of, like, no, she wasn't the baby in the rocket. She was actually still there and watched it like day by day crumble.
Yeah, and then when she was a teenager, she was finally given her own rocket with the idea of go to where your cousin was sent and protect him. By the time she gets there, because of how light years work and everything like that, her cousin is fully grown and doesn't really need her. So she's also someone who had a purpose that was lost pretty early on. So a lot of like heavy weight for like a 21-year-old to carry around.
100%, yeah. I think that the book does a good job of just getting me on her side right away. Like, not that it would be very hard, but I just think if you were really new to the character somehow, right away you're sympathizing with her and looking forward to seeing how the character interacts with the narrator.
At first, Supergirl tries to talk Ruthye out of her quest for vengeance, but eventually sees that that's not going to happen. Of course, Krem of the Yellow Hills also kind of wrongs Supergirl because he shoots both Supergirl and Krypto with arrows and steals her space travel, which of course he needed because she was on a planet without a yellow sun. And so this begins the trek, the quest of these two people together, and very interesting pairing that we got to deal with this entire time. For me, though, I really wish Ruthye would just shut the fuck up. She is a great character. There's some great moments, but that narration, as I mentioned, Dickensian in nature. When I say Dickensian, I mean it is word after word after word. She is not a concise character, and I know that he was going for a specific feel and tone, but I feel like I looked at those pages again without reading those panels and was like, it's a much better story without them.
Well, near the end, I appreciated where they got to with the narration and the purpose of the narration and like how it plays off of what you actually are witnessing happening in real time. But like you, I was, every time the narration came up, I was like, I don't like this part of it. I wish we were just back to like hearing the people talk for themselves.
Yeah. Like even when Ruthye talks, she's pretty wordy. But when it's in the give and take of a conversation, it's not that bad. But then when it's like page after page of like just captions talking, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Yep. I kind of surmised right there that that's what's happening. Yeah, just less is more. Again, I come from a comedy background where one of the cardinal rules is, why say something in 100 words if you can say it in 10? So, yeah. So that was probably the only major problem I had with this series.
Yeah, it did feel like an interruption for me at points. And as I said, ultimately, I like what they did with it, but it's not like I was like, this justified it. It was just more like, oh, okay, I guess that was a good idea. I could have done without it, but that was a nice way of capping it off at the end with the narration versus what you see actually happening.
Yeah. And it's like also with the reveal of what the narration is and means at the end of it is, very well done. Just at the beginning, maybe Tom, maybe if you just cut like 50%. 50% would be better.
You don't have to have all of it. I guess you don't have to take everything away. Maybe just take a lot of it out.
Yeah, definitely take a lot of it out. We see the pair go through space travel and go on their search for Krem on all these different worlds, and they find out about, was it the Brigadiers? Is that what they are?
See, I didn't know how to. I was like Brigadans. Like I did
Brigadans.
Not know
the Brigands.
I did not know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, the band of basically pirates. That's basically what they are. They're pirates, space pirates that Krem catches up with. But then also we have some allegories about racism and classism in one story.
I thought that's what you were talking about when you were talking about Dickensian, because there's that planet they go to where it's like, oh yeah, I can't remember what color it was, but it was like, we got rid of all the blue ones, and it was
the purples,
or the purples.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have the good people, and it's like, well, there's no purple people around here, or whatever. And then she spends time with the purple people.
Well, yeah, you find out that they kicked all the purple people out of town, and there was Purple Town, and then things got bad for the purples. Yeah. There's the class system and racism. All of the prejudices are kind of covered in that story. It's from then on that it becomes no longer Supergirl and Ruthye search for Krem. It's now they've got to prepare themselves to fight the brigand, who are just going from planet to planet, just trashing people. And you see like the effects of genocide on a much more simplistic scale in this story. So like there's a lot of things that he's touching on in this, like social and economical issues. and philosophical issues, but he's doing it in a way that's very easy to digest.
Yes. I don't think it would trip anyone up to be like, wait, what's going on here? It's very, as you said, very easy to digest. And I feel like there's a lot of like micro interactions where you're like, I get the idea and how you can expand that into the bigger idea he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what did you think of Krem of the Yellow Hills? Did you think he was an interesting antagonist, an interesting villain, or was he more of a plot point than a character?
That is how I felt about him. I do like the kind of, there's like the last 2 issues where he's tied up and he's really testing Ruthye's like resolve. But ultimately, yeah, he's just more there for their growth than he is to be an actual like threat or a character that I'll remember beyond beyond that. Like I didn't have a problem with that. It was just more like, yeah, he's not that exciting to me other than for like those 2 issues where he's tied up and I was like, okay, like he's really pressing her buttons here. This is interesting.
Yeah, that was the thing. Yeah, he was, because like when he's first introduced, he's kind of introduced in just kind of a story, and then we get one interaction with him in the first issue, and then it's probably not for another like 4 issues, maybe 5, that he really comes back into the story full tilt. And that's when they finally catch up to him. Of course, before that, Supergirl faces probably the most, of all the times where their life is in peril, probably the most torturous is when they are stuck on a planet with a green sun, which kind of has the same effects on her as kryptonite does.
Yeah, and I like that it was like, oh, well, Superman survived this. Like, how long did it take? And she was like, I mean, he was there for 35 minutes. Like, the Justice League saved him. And they're like, well, we've got 12 hours.
Yeah. We got 10 hours to get to that sunsets. The one thing I do like about this book, which I know some people who are Supergirl purists hate this, is the fact that she kind of talks more like someone who is 21, who's cocky, who's gone into adulthood. But you know how I remember when I was in my 20s, I thought I knew everything, but it wasn't until I got to my 30s that I realized, I spent most of my 20s being a dick.
Yeah.
So she's not a dick, but she has those little dickish moments. And it's like I love moments like at the end of her 10 hours in the green sun, she finally gets up and is like, 45 minutes. Clark was a fucking pussy. It's like, at least that's what I'm guessing what it says, because it's growl links. Yes. So those little symbols, but I get the feeling that that's what she was saying. And yeah, it's like you get those moments from her that she's surly, she's swearing. Again, she wanted to go drinking, which of course, if you think about Clark, who even she comments on it, that Clark is always kind of like too perfect. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't have wanted to do something like that, you know? And so no, I like that. Really I like the fact that she's rebellious. Yeah.
I like the distinction they make, even for me, because it was like, oh, this is different from what I see her like on the show. But like, even within the story, they are making the distinction between her and Clark a lot. And that planet with the green sun is like a good example of that. Like, because my feeling is that you get the sense that she is the stronger one of the two of them. And I like that this, or at least it's confirmation bias, because in this story there's a bunch of times where they set something up that like Superman did, and then she's doing better than he did in that situation, because it does show her being pushed to her limits. It's not like it's a breeze for her to do any of this stuff.
Right. It seems very much like it's always moments of endurance that they're kind of showing this.
And I like that in my heroes. I like those moments where they like just really have to like rally for themselves and get it done.
Yeah, it's kind of like again, I don't feel like the story is trying to say that Superman isn't as good as Supergirl. Yeah. I feel it's very much more like saying, well, Superman is almost like a symbol. And so when people see him in any moment of possible peril, they're there. Like that's the reason why Clark was 45 minutes on that planet, was because the Justice League showed up and saved him. And so because of the fact that he's more seen as a symbol and everything like that, he kind of gets a few helping hands from time to time. Whereas Supergirl, who again is like a forgotten hero, who's a third-tier hero, living in the shadow of her cousin, anything that she gets, she has to earn it. Having to work twice as hard to get half as much. So
yeah, because she's still not considered like an equal to Superman even in this world, but it is like you see the work that she puts in. And I think it's not really related, but I liked some of the narration. I liked was when they were talking about, because I guess it's a thought I've always had as well, was like recontextualizing her strength. And so saying like it's not that she has like ice breath, it's that she warms her breath to talk to you. It's not that she's got laser vision, it's like that she holds that back so she can look at you in the eye. Stuff like that, like the effort that she's putting in to not kill you basically when interacting with you is I like that touch to Supergirl, that she's putting in this effort and that it's more a release when she's doing her power stuff, and not like she's working on keeping it all together as opposed to working to like get up there and fight.
That's right. So she's dealing with all that. And at the same time during this story, she's not only a protector of Ruthye, but she's almost trying to shield Ruthye from the horrors of the world, while at the same time, kind of like almost like, you know, how a parent has for a child. It's like, I don't want you to feel this because I felt this. I want a better life for you. And she kind of takes that on, which is someone who is a stranger that she kind of just feels responsible for. It presents an interesting dynamic. Now, with Ruthye, what did you think of her character? Because again, the entire time she is not only reflecting on this fact that Supergirl is doing all this for her, but she is responding to it sometimes positively and sometimes negatively.
I think during the story, I was kind of like, this is nice that I wasn't sold on her too much. I think it really does come down to the final issue where you see her I don't know if we're going to talk about it, if I'm going out of order for you or whatever.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But like when you see her at the end and they say however long Krem has been in the Phantom Zone, and I appreciated her self-awareness of being like, oh, that book, what a stupid book. I'm sorry I forced that on everyone. Like, and like, as you said, like the narration is her book that she wrote after experiencing this stuff, which you get hints at the whole time, that she's like, oh, this was way back when I first met her. So you obviously know that a lot of time has passed when she's writing this narration. I liked that version of her, like that old woman version that's just like, oh yeah, I really was like, yeah, that was a stupid book. I'm sorry. Like I feel like she's just like, yeah, sorry about that, but like that was unnecessary. And that in contrast to the version of her that I liked, Supergirl's part of it, of being like, this was always like my test to make sure that you didn't want to kill Krem when you had the chance. Like that's not going to make you feel better. And then I'm thinking like, oh, that's actually, it's interesting retroactively. But then when she's kind of like, no, I did learn. I was like, oh, this feels too like after school special when she's trying to like no, Supergirl, don't kill him. I understand what you're saying now. But again, it pays off at the end when they're like, okay, he's out of the Phantom Zone now, and then they kill him.
Yeah.
I was like, good. I'm glad that they were like, he should also suffer first. Like, we can't just kill him. Like, we give him 300 years of suffering in the Phantom Zone. So yeah, I guess my thing is everything in the end feels better, but there's some key moments where I'm not sold on her as like a character that I'm invested in, other than she's the one facilitating this story that I'm enjoying about Supergirl.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. Now, you mentioned that only recently that you've gotten into checking out the world of Superman and all that. I myself have popped in and out throughout the years with the Superman mythos. But what did you think of, again, because this is Supergirl out of her element, but they did a pretty interesting job of working in like the lore of the Superman world. Like, of course, you get Comet and you get touches on Comet's backstory. You get the history of what happened to Kara Zor-El at the fall of Krypton. You do get a lot of like key moments that kind of connect to like the Superman mythos. How did you feel about the interspersing of those moments of lore?
I thought it did a good job of giving you, what's the best way to put this? Some landmarks for you to get your bearings in this. Like, again, I'm looking at it as like, this is just a new story, like, but they're giving you some kind of landmarks. Like, okay, so this did happen. Like, this is established. and not to say that it's the same continuity as other stuff you've read, but just to be like less guesswork of like, okay, so is she like, what I know about her is that she was sent to like protect Clark but didn't need to by the time she got there, and so they established that in this as well. So I appreciated that it was there but didn't feel like it was overshadowing. It was just kind of like helpful things of like, yes, this part is true in this story, this part is true in this story, and then yeah, just less things to worry about or overthink, I think.
Yeah, see, I feel like the fact that this book, when I first heard it get released, I thought it was going to be a Black Label book. It just seemed like, okay, it's written by Tom King. It's a third-tier character. It's going to be a Black Label book, so it'll be totally out of continuity. But then they released it under the regular DC imprint, which makes you think, okay, I guess it is in continuity. So I felt that they did a good job of making sure that it fit into the continuity in a sense.
Yeah. I guess not contradicting anything.
Yeah, exactly. But as I mentioned, there's some people who are fans of Supergirl that are not fans of this book because they feel it's a bit too edgy for Supergirl. And to that, I say, fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the fun of it for me is I don't think I watched all of Supergirl, but I did like the first season, I think, and I understood that it was like, yeah, this is the cheery thing, but like I liked that they had that there's an iteration that isn't cheery and still not a bummer. It's not like I felt like, oh wow, I hate hanging out with this version of Supergirl. Like she's still interesting to be around. It's just she has a different point of view on the world, and I think that's fun to explore.
Yeah, I felt like they didn't dip too far into the grim dark. Like, yeah, some of the situations were pretty dark, but Supergirl herself didn't get dark. At worst,
she
got
says
surly.
things like, "I'm Supergirl. I'm never angry at anyone," or and I guess you could see that as being sarcastic. But I thought like realistically, what? Yeah, like she probably doesn't feel like she needs to be angry at anyone. Like she can kind of exercise any anger she has in the moment.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now we haven't talked about it yet, but of course the artwork in this, the art by again. If you're listening, artist, I'm sorry. I'm going to try my best to pronounce your name. I'm going to say is Bilquis Evely. That's my guess.
That is close enough to what I was thinking, and I know I wasn't going to get it right either. I was just like,
and then the colors are by Matthias Lopez. This, like we talked about all the different genres that the story covers, but the artwork here feels very classic, like medieval fantasy, in my opinion.
Yes, I'm a fan of the art. I'm trying to think. Because I remember last time I was on, I felt woefully underprepared to speak about the art, and I tried to remember like a moment where I felt struck by the artwork, and I can't remember now, but I think it's Supergirl gets to see all the atrocities that Krem has committed, and just the way they draw her eye, like in contrast to like these lush backgrounds that you're seeing throughout and landscapes, is just this really sullen look on her face while they're on a mountain, I think. And it says everything, and I thought like that was just really well done. You already knew she was like, I'm not going to let Ruthye see, I'll take this one for the team, but to see how it affected her after you've seen her be shot with arrows and beaten up, and it would look like that was kind of what got to her the most, was watching everything that Krem had done.
Yeah, moments like that are very striking in this. I also got to say the facial expressions in this are amazing. Of course, the main characters, Supergirl, Ruthye, they have a lot of different expression in this, but the blue people, the expressions with them, because they're putting on this mask of insincerity of like being like, hey, nice to meet you. It's a beautiful day.
Try
sort
to
of thing.
sweep everything under the rug.
And as soon as they're questioned, their faces turn to almost like a haggard evil. The kind of face you would picture on someone who thinks of you as a lower life form type thing. And yeah, like just that, the fact that their faces turn on a dime, the expressions in that are just so different. I thought that really captured to me. That really struck me and really helped with that story. The colors in this, like I said that the artwork is very medieval fantasy kind of feel, but the colors are very sci-fi. The colors are like, we're on different planets, so we're going to play with the hues. We're going to play with, the warmth. And of course, having written into the story, the yellows, the reds, the greens, they come in at the right moments, which I really like. Again, this is a feast for the senses, but it doesn't overdo it. There's a kind of like a subduedness to all of the stuff that's coming your way. Like there's a lot of stuff on the page, but not overpowering.
It all feels like it works well together. Like I think I don't have an example of it, but like the way people talked about the art, I thought before I read anything, felt like it had the potential to be like, well, I'm just looking at the pictures and not really reading it. But like, I feel like it is infused with, as you said, like the way they use the reds, the yellows, the greens, and how that's specific to like the suns and everything. That it all worked together, like so that everything felt like of a piece and in the best possible way to me.
Right. So the big question is, if you were James Gunn, who's the director that you think would handle a story of this nature?
See, I just assumed he was going to do it, but if we are going for another director, that's a good question. Who can do this properly? I'm struggling here. Would this be a good thing? Who did Rogue One? Not who took over, but like whose name was on it. Is that Gareth Evans or Edwards? I never remember.
Was it Gareth Edwards? I thought Gareth Edwards didn't get to make his movie. Did he make that movie?
I mean, ultimately, no.
Ultimately, no, yeah.
But they did put his name on it.
Right.
I feel like if you let him, I mean, I guess he'd have to have a proper script, but I feel like he could get the visuals down of this.
Yeah. And that, like, again, you commenting on James Gunn. Yes, this also does seem like a story Gunn could do himself, but he can't make all the movies.
No. Yeah.
So I guess the other possible answer would be Wes Anderson. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I would not put us through that. Dear God. Talk about people that have, started out great and then just kept failing upwards. That's I miss 90s Wes Anderson. That's when he was good. But
I mean, that's when I was hooked, so I can't disagree.
Yeah, these days it's just got too much, too decadent, and far too white. Like the whitest white.
Yep. I can agree with that 100%, even though I do like Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh, that's the one that actually turned me off of him. That was the one that made me go, I'm
I
out.
I was afraid if I put it out there, it would get shot
That's
down.
okay, man. It's all right. I don't judge other people for liking him. For me, no. But yeah, I do think if they do this right, it will be like an epic space fantasy. Like you can do a space opera with this story. Definitely. And I look forward to see who gets cast in it and whatnot. But for the time being, I say definitely check out this book. It is not on the same level, in my opinion, as his work on Strange Adventure or Mr. Miracle, but it is a good time.
I think it is. Well, I guess unless you're tied to a very specific version of Supergirl, I can't imagine you being upset with your time reading it. It feels like a worthwhile read in that sense.
Yeah, totally. So you go pick it up today. Have a good read. It's 8 issues. I believe it's available now in collector edition. So check it out. Well, we've come to the end of another episode of Back Issue Bloodbath. Daniel, tell the good folks where they can find you.
I am at the Young Guard on Twitter. That's YUNGGUARD. And just Young Guard on Instagram. My website is tdfeverything.com, so you can find everything I do there, podcasts, writing, music, all sorts of stuff. That website, and I've got 2 podcasts, Uncolonized. I have to make sure. Yes, I do have 2.
There are 2 of them.
Yeah, I've got 2. Uncolonized with Gavin Stevens and Spoiled Rotten with Ben Sitt. But you'll be on talking about the Daredevil movie. We recorded that. That'll be out in June, soon.
There you
next
go.
Couple of weeks. Actually, I don't know when this comes out, but people can look forward to that. And
I have a feeling there might be a chance that they come out roughly around the same time.
Okay.
Who knows?
Well, then Petula was on talking about Endgame, so that's something people can listen to right now at any time. And we also will be starting our coverage of Secret Invasion in the next couple of weeks, so that'll be interesting.
Okay, looking forward to that. When's Secret Invasion coming out?
June 21st.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so we've got a couple movies to do, and then we'll start that. And I pride myself on our coverage of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so I feel like it's another opportunity to have a good streak of episodes like that.
There you go, man. There you go. Sounds good. So, of course, check that all out. And Daniel, thank you so much for coming on. Of course, you can find everything I do over at geekcardshow.com. Follow me on Twitter at geekcard. Follow this very show on Facebook at Back Issue Bloodbath, where we post a new episode every week. Of course, the easiest way to make sure that you don't miss an episode is to subscribe to us on your podcasting platform of choice. And while you're there, leave a 5-star rating and review. As far as they tell me, that helps. So we'll see if it does. But also, make sure you take some time in your day and be thankful for what you got. And be thankful that you're not taking a knife to a Supergirl fight, because it ain't going to work. This has been Back Issue Bloodbath. I've been Andrew Young.
I've been Daniel Grant. Thank you very much.
Have yourself a good